ABC 6 News 11 at 11 starts right now.
Well, it's been a rare sight, but we actually saw some snow in southern New England today. And Bill going to be in the Weather Center with more on what Mother Nature has in store for us when the flakes return early next week. Plus, 2 people without a home tonight after a fire in Pawtucket. What challenges firefighters say they faced putting this one out. And standing in solidarity with Ukraine, the very personal reason one Attleboro woman had for organizing a roadside rally of support today. Well, good evening and thanks for joining us tonight for ABC 6 News 11 at 11. I'm Yanni Tregelis, and here's a sight we haven't seen very much of this winter. Snow falling this afternoon along Route 24 in Taunton. Now, this is right near the Hart Street overpass, and it made for some slick driving conditions across our entire region. And we want to get you right over to meteorologist Bill Guile with a look at that forecast. And Bill, we're not done with this snow yet this weekend or next week.
No, we're not. You know, it is kind of like Mother Nature said, gee, I'm sorry, I forgot about you guys for over the winter, so let me make it up to you and send some snow your way for the next couple of weeks. I mean, that's what we've been getting under all of a sudden. A lot of cold air this past week, some icy conditions. Today we had some light snow showers, slippery conditions. Now we've got a snowstorm to look at coming in for Monday night and Tuesday. This is how cold it was today. It was the best we could do for high temperatures, right around 20 degrees, and the temperature really hasn't budged at all through the evening hours. On the radar, it looked like everything had shriveled up and dried up through the evening hours in terms of any snow showers and flurries, but there is still moisture in the air, and there are still some snowflakes around. They're going to continue to persist off and on. Snowflakes, really just decorative stuff at this point. I don't expect anything to potentially accumulate, but Smithfield still getting a little bit of snow flurry activity. TF Green and Warwick also seeing some snowflakes. That's all that's going to continue for the next couple of hours. But just watch out on the roads. Any untreated surfaces could certainly be slick as they will stay damp. And there's another disturbance off to the northwest. So we're going to repeat what happened today all over again tomorrow. The difference being the temperatures will be above freezing. So I don't expect anything to cause problems on the roads during the day tomorrow. But temperatures tonight, only falling off another degree or 2 from where they are. We start off in the low 20s tomorrow morning, maybe some peaks of sun here and there. Don't expect a lot. Cloudy by midday, a couple of flurries starting to develop. And notice by then our temperatures into the mid-30s, so any snow falling is simply going to melt. And as we head into the evening hours, a snow flurry or a sprinkle, all that's left, and again, no issues from that. Now, coming up in a little bit, we're going to look ahead to the winter storm that I alluded to that'll be coming in for Monday night and Tuesday. Certainly going to be accumulating snow. It's just a matter of how much and whether there's going to be a rain-snow line and mixing occurring and how far inland that'll get. We're going to take a look at some early ideas of what I'm thinking right now. It's all based on the redeveloping storm track that'll be taking place offshore. I'll be a full forecast in just a few minutes. Ian. Sorry, Yanni.
All right, thanks, Bill. We will be sure to check back in. And new tonight on 11 at 11, 2 people are displaced after a house fire in Pawtucket tonight. One firefighter got debris in his eyes while fighting that fire, but he was treated on scene, and we are told that that firefighter is okay. Fire crews first arriving at just after 7 on Carter Ave, and we're told this fire started in the basement and then spread into the walls. Firefighters dealing with several factors tonight, making things more difficult, including the cold temperatures, snow, and low-hanging wires.
It always is, yeah, especially when it starts in the basement. You kind of chase it around the house most of the time. It looks like they're still trying to chase it now a little bit, but that was the challenge.
And the cause of that fire is still under investigation. Well, a driver was seriously hurt after crashing into a construction barrier on Route 24 North in Taunton this afternoon. It's happening at just before 3 o'clock this afternoon near the 140 North ramp. State police say that person was taken to St. Luke's Hospital in New Bedford. Both lanes were closed for about a half hour, and all lanes later reopened about an hour after the crash. And checking some other headlines today, a tractor-trailer rollover in Cumberland backing up traffic on 295 South this afternoon at just after 2 o'clock. Rhode Island State Police tell us that the truck was carrying salt that you'd typically see used to treat the road. The driver of that truck was taken to Rhode Island Hospital with minor injuries, and crews were still on scene cleaning up nearly 2 hours after that crash. And a 5-year-old boy suffering life-threatening injuries after being hit by a car in Foxborough this morning. Police there say the boy was hit at around 11 a.m. on Central Street, and he was taken to Hasbro Children's Hospital. Police say that boy was outside playing and tried crossing the street before the car hit him. The person who did hit him stayed on the scene and is cooperating with the investigation. Police say speed is not believed to have been a factor in this crash. Rhode Island State Police bring a list of charges against 2 Providence men stopped with guns on Friday. Police say 31-year-old Kyrell Clark ran from them after being stopped on Rousseau Street for traffic violations. They later caught up with him and charged him, among other things, with having a gun after being convicted of a crime of violence. The passenger, 36-year-old Rashad Martin, also faces gun charges. And a man was shot and killed by members of Mass State Police gaming unit in Springfield this morning. Police say officers responded to a call of a man acting aggressively in the MGM Springfield Casino. Outside of the casino, police exchanged fire with that man and he was hit. He was later taken to a hospital and died. The local DA is currently investigating. And if you're wondering what caused police to block off part of Route 140 in Taunton this morning, it was because of an overnight crash. Taunton police tell us a car hit a utility pole at just after 2 a.m. on County Road. That's right in front of the Smoky Bones restaurant in the area near the Target. Police say there were no injuries in that crash and it currently remains under investigation. And new tonight, dueling story hours in Fall River, drawing supporters and protesters this morning. Now, we've told you about a trend of white supremacist protests at drag queen story hours in Bristol County, first in Fall River, then in Taunton over the last few months. And today, the drag queen story hour in Fall River moving out of the Fall River Public Library and onto Rock Street. Now, there were no protests there, but a new story hour moved into the public library called Pastor Story Hour, causing concerns for demonstrators outside.
Important for the liberal religious traditions to testify to the fact that pastor story hours in public settings such as libraries is really not appropriate. There needs to be respect for a separation of church and state. And liberal religious traditions have a very different view on gender and sexuality than what is being testified to within the public library setting on gender and sexuality. So I'm here to say that we support and affirm and welcome all LGBTQIA+ people.
And one of the pastors organizing the event told us he got together with a colleague to organize this in response to the previous drag queen story hours in the city, calling it an alternative to what was being offered.
They have a right to teach what they want to teach, but we felt there needed to be a counterbalance to the message they have. We brought the message to the children today that, first of all, God made male and female, and there's no such thing as changing from male to female and vice versa. And then our second story that we read was a fictional story, The King and the Dragon, which basically was a fictional description of the gospel.
And we have reached out to Fall River Police, who did have a presence at both events this morning, to ask about what the nature of that presence was. We're still awaiting a reply tonight. Well, turning now to political news, the snowy forecast coming on Tuesday could impact Attleboro's mayor election. The Sun Chronicle reports city officials will meet Monday to decide if Tuesday's election should be postponed. The public is invited to that meeting at 9:30 Monday morning inside City Hall's first floor conference room. There are 4 candidates vying for the seat vacated by now Bristol County Sheriff Paul Heroux. Acting Mayor Jay DeLisio is among those running. And also turning now to an ABC6 News update. Multiple state agencies are jointly investigating after a house fire in Cranston killed 2 people on Friday. That house fire starting at just after 2 a.m. on Whitewood Drive. Cranston Police, the State Fire Marshal, the Medical Examiner, and Cranston Fire Protection are all investigating now as officials work to determine the cause of that fire. Neighbors there are telling us yesterday that the fire took a while to put out as flames quickly overtook the entire home. And Warwick School Committee Chair is addressing the arrest of a colleague for the first time. Warwick Police arresting Karen Backus last weekend, and police say Backus hit an officer after being arrested for drunk driving. She was charged with refusal to submit a chemical test and simple assault. Chairperson David Testa said in a statement tonight that the school committee, quote, does not condone this type of alleged behavior. And turning now to the war in Ukraine, a rally in Attleboro this morning marking the 1-year point in the war. And for the organizer, it's personal. Barbara Clark and her husband hosted a Ukrainian exchange student named Vladimir back in the mid-90s. She says Vladimir attended Attleboro High School and then medical school, hoping to one day become a surgeon. Now, Barbara says she lost track of him, but then found him on LinkedIn and got back in touch. He was living in Kyiv when the war first started and has since moved to other parts of Ukraine for safety.
That connection to the country and to the war, and having known him for that length of time, it just, I had to do something. I couldn't not. It's what I can do from here. I can show him that he has support here in Attleboro, where he had been a student. And it's very encouraging to the people there to know that throughout the world, many people are supporting them.
And this was the third local standout effort Barbara organized in support of Ukraine. Well, more support for Ukraine in Woonsocket tonight. St. Michael's Ukrainian Orthodox Church on Harris Ave held a special mass for peace in Ukraine. Now, this was scheduled to align with the first anniversary of Russia's invasion. And a few dozen Rhode Islanders who stuck through the winter weather this afternoon in attendance today, commemorating now 1 year since Russia first invaded Ukraine.
It's a commemoration of 1 year of death, 1 year of horror, 1 year of murder, 1 year of betrayal, 1 year of pain, 1 year of people who have lost everything.
The pastor also spoke to those in the church about growing up in Ukraine prior to coming to America and the challenges that those still in Ukraine are facing during the war. And as the war enters its second year now, the U.S. adding new sanctions against Russia. The sanctions target people and companies in Russia. The Biden administration says many of those sanctions target workers in Russia's defense sector, and the U.S. has also pledged more than $2 billion in additional military aid. Well, still to come on ABC 6 News 11 at 11. It's been a quiet winter so far, but that's going to be continuing to change in the coming days. Bill back with a look at a potential storm for early next week.